So my name's Kat. I actually have to read the text as well. I'm not very good at speeches yet. I'm a product manager at VMware, and I specialize in Workspace ONE, unified endpoint manager for macOS. So we're excited to talk to you today about some automation, and we got some workflows to talk about for Mac management specifically. So we'll be diving into the concept of utilizing desired state management to tackle the specific challenges that automation can bring to our organization. So we got a ton of info. We have a light agenda here. So I'm going to cover orchestration and automation, why it's necessary when it comes to managing Macs and some of our challenges. We'll talk about the core principles of desired state management and how it can help avoid issues. I'll demonstrate how VMware's device management framework, Workspace ONE, incorporates all of these principles. And I have a lot to talk about Freestyle Orchestrator. I know some of you have asked us about that. I've got a lot in there. And I'll go over macOS updates in UEM, that's very new, and also our digital employee experience management, DEAM, and our upcoming SaaS update. And I hope that's plenty to talk about. All righty. Next, okay. So hybrid work, we've probably seen a lot of this information that we thought it was going to be a temporary fix through COVID, and now it's just globally the future of our work landscape. So remote work entails increased intricacy in terms of security and our employee experience. We're managing a diverse range of devices used by remote employees. We all know that. IT teams need to ensure that their devices are properly configured, updated, and secure to ensure data protection and productivity. With our employees working from various locations, endpoint security becomes a major concern. Organizations need to ensure that the endpoints are adequately protected with up-to-date security patches. So we've encountered some additional challenges here, including employee departures from companies, reduced budgets from all of our corporations. We've got skill gaps now, and an uncertain environment. So these circumstances require us to work even harder with limited resources. Just kind of level set. So we're wearing multiple hats. We have to do everything as fast as possible. Organizations have been investing in automation to help. In fact, 84% of organizations have increased investment into automation. Are any of you VMware customers, by the way, Workspace ONE? Okay, great, awesome. All right, good deal, okay. So the current work environment highlights the crucial requirement for orchestration and automation, as we know. Factors like the pandemic, the rise of remote and hybrid work, and the Great Resignation have rapidly and significantly altered how organizations operate. The ongoing transformation stresses the significance of implementing an effective orchestration and automation practices. Let's face it, it makes our lives a little bit easier if we're not doing that tedious work. For organizations to be successful, they have to respond to these changing business needs quickly, and that requires automation, blah, blah. Okay. IT holds the responsibility of enabling automation process in all departments through the use of the new tools and procedures. As a result, IT teams in all organizations need to enhance their expertise here. And automation may not always align with the desired user experience. So certain actions and configurations may require your users to interact, get notifications. We have to be flexible. It can't be fully automated all the time without considering the user preferences and use cases. Automation is designed to handle our routine tasks and standard scenarios, but unforeseen scenarios or unique requirements may arise that are not easily addressed. Human intervention and your problem solving is necessary. Automation is not a one-time solution either. It requires your ongoing maintenance and adapting to our evolving environments. Changes in device types, your software versions coming from Apple, organizational requirements, you're always going to have to go in there and make manual adjustments. And you might not have seen this before, but these are all the elements that are in our macOS environments, especially for VMware. So you've got your endpoint management, inventory scripting, your security, you've got VPN, identity management, single sign-on, and your remote support. So tons of information and tools here for us. The key message to emphasize is managing devices goes far beyond the capabilities of a basic MDM tool. All of these tools claim to bring automation in different ways, but as capabilities increase, the expectations also increase, and the overall environment explodes in complexity. For maximum scalability, flexibility, and security, you need to ensure that all of the different tools are able to work together, and that all your overall environment design allows you to define the scope and expectations of each individual tool set and how it contributes to your environment as a whole. So let's talk about desired state management, what it is, and how it can help. But keep in mind that desired state management is not a specific tool, but an organizational approach to device management that helps harness your automation and minimize risk and challenges that you're going to encounter. Here's where it gets dry. Okay. Desired state management allows the device to evaluate these rules on its own without the need of compliance policies and constant polling from the MDM server back and forth to the device. Essentially, business logic is shifted from the MDM server to your devices themselves. Desired state management is a device management concept that defines a device's desired state by specifying your configurations, accounts, assets, and the applications that you should have. The device autonomously ensures those resources are installed based on the rules you define in your desired state. For example, your Mac can receive your password, Wi-Fi, VPN, your email configurations, along with a prioritized list of applications to install. The passcode policy prompts the user to create a compliant passcode immediately. Wi-Fi, VPN, and applications can be set to activate once they have entered in that passcode. It's compliant now. Same with the apps. They would install with the initial deployment, but would be inaccessible to the user. They would also only activate once the passcode is compliant. Email configuration would follow, only activating once the passcode is compliant and the email application is activated there. So that protects, obviously, all of the data. Apple and Google have introduced their own implementations of desired state management. Apple, as we know, calls it Declarative Device Management, while Google incorporates it into their Android Management API. Although these solutions are still evolving and may not cover all of our use cases, they represent an encouraging step into comprehensive device management. So now that we've conceptualized DDM, which is Declarative Device Management, as an example of DSM, which is Desired State Management, let's talk about what these principles really are. So we want to define, we're going to create, and we're going to automate. So let's look at the first column here first. So first you want to define your desired state for individual devices and the device fleet. You want to identify your specific settings, policies, and configurations to enforce on your managed devices. So your security settings, your network configurations, application installations. Determine if the configuration is meant for all of your users or target those specific user roles or even your device types. We would use smart groups to do that. Once the individual resource is defined, consider the applicable use case and personas. When you're defining the resource, assess the required level of user experience. You want to decide whether the configuration can be applied silently, as we know for OS updates, or if user notification and deferrals are necessary. So obviously you wouldn't want a reboot to happen, or you want a user to be able to defer if they're giving a presentation, things like that. Now in the second column I'm talking about here, so you're going to divide those configurations into independent logical resources rather than using monumental scripting. So you don't want a large, huge script going. We want to divide those up. So we're going to group the related settings together and minimize dependencies. So for example, if you're installing an app, you're going to combine the components like your installer package, your configuration script, and all of the MDM profiles as core requirements for your deployment. So automation is pivotal in this process. Third column here. So the management system identifies and reports any deviations from your desired state. So it's going to correct the incorrect configurations as needed for you. It offers automated guidance and flexibility, enhancing your user experience. And additionally, the system provides comprehensive information to admins. It's going to generate reporting, ensuring that devices consistently meet that desired state. And if anybody wants to take a picture, feel free, so I can move on there. Okay. So now we've discussed automation and desired state management in a general sense. So now let's shift our attention to VMware's device management platform, Workspace ONE, and look into its feature set. We'll specifically highlight how these principles are effectively applied for managing our Macs. Hold on, I went to the wrong screen. Okay, sorry about that. So first of all, this is something that's coming out soon, but not released yet. Declarative device management is a top priority for VMware. VMware is actively investigating DDM as a top priority, so we should be able to give an announcement soon within the next week or so. And what is DDM specifically? Why does it keep doing that? It's going to the wrong one. Okay. DDM is a new management paradigm that builds on top of Apple's existing mobile device management protocol. Since DDM enhances the existing MDM protocol, there is no migration required for your managed devices to support the new DDM capability, so you don't have to wipe it. DDM introduces two new management, it keeps jumping ahead. DDM introduces two new management concepts with declarations and status channel. Declarations represent the policies that are applied to devices, whereas status channel allows managed devices to automatically and asynchronously report device state changes as they occur. So in the past, deploying and accurately reporting here was really complex. You would have to query from Workspace ONE or your MDM, as the device would not report its status autonomously. So now, with declarative device management over here, the process becomes streamlined. The MDM platform defines the desired state, specifying the configurations and settings for each device. Real-time reporting is enabled as devices proactively report their current state, eliminate the need for your constant query, is it done, are you there, like that kind of thing. Declarative Device Management, or DDM, brings several benefits. It simplifies configuration by focusing on desired outcomes rather than your list of detailed instructions. So the devices evaluate and maintain their desired state, increasing automation and reducing manual intervention. Consistency and compliance are improved by enforcing uniform configurations and policies across the device fleet. Flexibility and adaptability are enhanced, allowing devices to adjust configurations based on changing conditions. The management process is simplified, with administrators focusing on defining the desired state while devices will handle the implementation. Declarative device management frameworks are vendor and platform agnostic, promoting interoperability and facilitating device management across ecosystems. Declarative device management streamlines processes, increases automation, it improves your consistency and flexibility, and reduces complexity. It simplifies device management in diverse environments, making it a valuable approach for organizations. In essence, DDM is desired state management for the MDM protocol itself. Administrators will need to be able to adopt similar principles for the other areas of macOS management. So this is my favorite subject, Freestyle. Has anyone used Freestyle yet before? Oh, great. Okay, good. So we're going to go into a little bit about the basics of Freestyle here. The Freestyle Orchestrator framework enables the creation of individual and independent logical workflows with minimal low-code requirements. It excels in handling complex use cases, especially those involving multiple steps, complex workflows, or different components. It provides flexibility for designing a customized user experience while deploying configurations to devices. And we work closely with the Freestyle team from the macOS team to ensure that macOS is supported and tested. So there's several components to a workflow defined in Freestyle Orchestrator. First are resources. They are the configuration building blocks. So think of an app, or a script, or a configuration profile. That is an individual component within your workflow. So that would be a resource, your app, for example. Second are your logical conditions. These can be common scenarios, such as if a particular application is installed or if a file exists on the file system. But you can also define what we call a sensor. Sensors are a way to programmatically define any individual attribute that you wish to report on, and then compare the reported value to an expected value within the workflow. We have a significant library of custom sensors that customers have been using, and those also work for Windows and macOS. Freestyle Orchestrator uses a visual canvas UI to make it simple to combine each resource and condition into an overall workflow that makes sense visually and achieves the behavior you define. There's also a hands-on lab for this as well that you can view it. And we have a demo at our booth. Once your full workflow is configured, you can treat it as a singular configuration item and assign it to an appropriate set of your devices. Workspace ONE includes options to ensure that a device does not drift from each stage of the workflow, and if drift is detected, to automatically reperform those operations needed to bring it back to the steady state. So let's talk about a few scenarios to demonstrate the usefulness of workflows. Workflows are particularly valuable for complex software deployments. For example, an application may require running multiple installer packages in a specific sequence, deploying a license key before installation, executing a particular configuration after installation, or even deploying various configuration profiles alongside the app. In these cases, each component can be defined as a step within the single workflow, simplifying the deployment process to your devices. There are also, sorry, jumped ahead again. There's also scenarios where a configuration should only be deployed in a very specific situation. So maybe you want to run a script on devices with less than 50% battery life, or only if the CPU is below your certain threshold. By defining each of these conditions, requiring them all to be true, you can get to any level of granularity, I can't say that word, granularity, to an assignment that you might need. Freestyle Orchestrator is a mechanism that can support advanced compliance and remediation workflows. If you define arbitrary conditions that would make a device non-compliant, you can then take any action needed to bring that device back into compliance or to remove access to your critical resources, no matter how complex you want to do it. So I encourage you to test it out in hands-on lab to try that out. And again, like I said, we have a demonstration at the booth. So managing macOS updates. So let's focus on this. This is a huge problem for some of us that have been wanting to do this for a long time. So we're aware that handling macOS updates can be quite difficult regardless of the tools you employ. There are numerous tools available that address this challenge, each with its own approach. Some prioritize user control and flexibility. Others focus on ensuring compliance and enforcing device updates. As Apple has iterated on the ability to manage OS updates through the MDM protocol itself, we've recently built an updates dashboard that will leverage those tools, but is built around desired state management, like I've been talking about, allowing you to define a target OS version for your devices while still providing user flexibility on the installation itself. It can even support some ramp-up behavior where you allow the user for flexibility during the initial stages of a deployment before becoming more forceful later, locking it down. Managing macOS updates in a way that satisfies both users and IT and security is a very tricky problem to solve, but this is an area we're going to continue to be a focus throughout the summer and the latter half of this year. The dashboard will be available in UAT environments shortly, and you'll see further updates and improvements in subsequent releases. Chris is actually working on that right now. Thank you, Chris. Very good. We're working on incorporating the new software update capabilities built on top of the DDM framework introduced in macOS 14 Sonoma and also iOS 17. And by the way, a lot of what I'm talking about is also available for iOS. We don't really talk about that much here, but it's true. We also have a video on the OS updates available at our booth. Okay. Single sign-on. Let's see. Okay. So modern management also lends well to zero trust security model. Zero trust is not only about the technology, but it also develops security parameters by understanding the business process, the stakeholders, and everyone's mindset. Security is designed from the inside out instead of vice versa. Zero trust begins with giving users access as per the governing policies of the organization, only for the limited time that they need to accomplish a specific task. In addition to that, it pulls in the latest technologies revolving around scoring, file system permissions, orchestration, analytics, and multi-factor authentication. So we can integrate with Microsoft Azure Compliance and Google Beyond Trust Compliance if appropriate. I actually worked on Google Conditional Access recently. To summarize, is the user on a trusted device? Are they who they say they are? Is the connection secure? Is the app secure? We want to ensure that all of those answers are yes. With Workspace ONE Unified Endpoint Management, combined with Workspace ONE Access, which is the identity, Workspace ONE Intelligence, which is analytics, IT admins can layer in these features that support the zero trust strategy. And these features allow you to verify the device, the user, and the session. Okay. Another thing, I'll switch up topics. Let's talk about our employees' experience. Considerations around employee experience are more important than ever before, especially with the increases of organizations supporting a remote or hybrid workforce. Providing manual support to distributed employees can be super challenging, as we know. So ensuring that your end users are using their devices effectively and not running into any issues is extremely important. Our Digital Employee Experience Management solution, also known as DEEM, aims to address these challenges. With DEEM metrics around user experience becoming important data points so you can include as you define your desired state. That is a terrible sentence. I should have rewritten that. You can view information such as how specific applications are used, how often they crash, or the overall performance of your device's CPU or hard drive, and so on. We're doing a lot more of that coming up soon. For example, after you deploy a new version of a line of business app, you can monitor for crashes or overall CPU usage to ensure it's working as expected and not overtaxing your devices. You can combine these metrics with Freestyle Orchestrator in powerful ways that even allow you to integrate with third-party tools if drift occurs. For example, if you identify that certain devices are experiencing frequent application crashes, you can set up a workflow to automatically open up a service desk ticket on behalf of your user for some proactive support. You can also turn that off, but you can define that. So maybe you want to monitor for certain events and send either the users or administrators a Slack message or some kind of notification. Perhaps a user is experiencing frequent system crashes, so you create a workflow that integrates with a procurement tool such as Coupa to automatically begin the process of issuing a user a replacement device so they don't have to experience any downtime. That's pretty cool. Any device that supports a REST API can be included in this workflow, so there's really no limit in the type of data and actions that you can include as part of your desired state. So all of this is called the Digital Employee Experience Management Solution, or DEEM. The macOS team is also working closely with DEEM to make sure that everything is supported for macOS. Okay, our architecture. So if any of you followed news about VMware or Workspace ONE specifically, you may have seen some articles announcing the release of our next-gen SaaS platform or modernization. Our teams have taken our entire core platform, which has been iterated on for more than a decade and a half, and completely rebuilt it from the ground up. This has two goals: refactoring our legacy monolithic platform to modern microservices, which are coupled but largely independent. Embracing desired state management, the platform itself will understand the desired state of each device, and the process to remediate drift becomes more straightforward. As you can probably tell, these goals are very much in line with what I've been talking about today. Just as these principles can help with the management of devices, they can also help with the implementation of the platform itself. And so there's direct benefits of this new platform for administrators. You've got incredible performance and scalability, number one, performing actions like an app deployment at scale, think hundreds and thousands of devices, can expect at least a 10x performance improvement. Very excited about that. Organizations using Workspace ONE to manage their devices can scale their deployments to just millions of devices if needed. Due to the change from a largely monolithic code base to microservice-based architecture, our team will be able to introduce new features and functionality faster than ever before. As Apple innovates and makes new announcements at WWDC, we will be in a position to quickly adopt new feature sets, as well as introduce our own innovations unique to our platform. The framework lends itself to powerful low-code capabilities and advanced security feature sets. So Freestyle Orchestrator was actually in the first feature built off of this new framework, but you'll continue to see further innovations down the line, even with other platforms like Linux and so on. And they've written a blog about that recently, too. In conclusion, let me recap some of the main points that I've covered. Increasing automation is becoming a core requirement for IT departments, and it is a core driver for all business functions. However, it can introduce its own set of challenges and risks and must be harnessed effectively. Desired state management is a powerful approach to macOS management that can simplify modern complex environments and increase efficiency for your IT teams. Workspace ONE sees these principles of desired state management as used to provide tools and features that make it easier than ever to manage our Macs and support advanced use cases. Features like Freestyle Orchestrator, third-party integrations, Deem, and a new modern architecture allow you to support use cases and workflows that weren't ever possible before. So if you want to see some demos or have a more in-depth conversation about your environment or our platform, please swing by our booth. We're right in front of the registration desk. And you can also check out VMware's Tech Zone site and UEC blog for the latest announcements, deep dives, and tutorials about our platform. I'm sorry I ran through that so quickly, but thank you so much for your attention today. And if you have any questions, Chris and I can certainly answer about Freestyle or anything else. Yay, there's Jude. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I can take those questions back if I don't know them. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so I know you're not fully managing Linux yet, but the reporting side of it?
Yeah. So for Linux, they were waiting on the SaaS architecture to be finished.
Okay.
So now they will be able to push out the features, and I believe they have some features waiting to be pushed.
Okay.
So as soon as that architecture is complete, they will be able to do that for Linux.
Then we're, okay.
Yeah.
And timeline for that?
I wish I could really say. It's currently in testing. So,
Right.
and there's quite a lot of testing going on right now, as you can imagine. They should be able to post announcements and blogs. They might even say more at Explore next month. If not, if it doesn't come out before then, I hope it does. But it should be right now. Like, it's very, very close to being done.
Okay.
I wish I could really say more about the timelines, but I can't. They told me not to.
Understand.
Yeah.
Anybody
Good
else?
stuff.
Oh, there we go.
Well, you may have just answered my question, but I was curious about the timeline for desired state management for macOS.
Right. So this is, it's so close
So, I'm
to
sorry.
be
I'm
done.
sorry. DDM, declarative.
Declarative
device.
is, yes. So
For
that
macOS.
is currently in testing. I asked them if I could talk about the exact implementation. They said no, but it's imminent, if you get my meaning. That's all I can say about it, but very close.
We're still on-prem, so that's going to put us at least a few months behind.
Yes, so right, exactly.
cloud.
So it is for SaaS and dedicated SaaS and shared SaaS. As to, you know, how long that would take, I'm not certain if that, like, if it'll take months or not. Do you have any plans to migrate?
Do we have what?
Do you have any plans to migrate to SaaS, or you're held back because?
We're in the middle of a larger investigation about all the available MDMs, and
Okay.
cloud is one of them.
Sure.
But yeah,
Understood.
we're a very large decentralized campus, so it's complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I wish that they would do everything at the same time for on-prem, but sadly it's a monumental amount of testing to do that for you. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Awesome. Well, thanks. I guess you could throw the box back at me, just whip it at me. I'm sure you, oh, there. This is cool. I like that. Very cool. All right. Thanks again, guys, for attending. I appreciate that. Have a good rest of the day.